This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 190 of the Stable Scoop radio show on the Horse Radio Network, Desperate Horsewives.
Woohoo!
Please support our sponsors as they make this show possible. Equestrian Collections offers the whole universe of shopping at your fingertips. You can find them online at equestriancollections.com. Plus, Kentucky Performance Products, scientifically proven. And our newest sponsor, Equity Manufacturing, home of the Flex and Fork. You can find them at equitymfg.com. You can find all our sponsors at stablescoop.com. We have links and details about our wonderful sponsors up there.
Welcome to the Stable Scoop, with weekly shows delivered right to you. With Helena and Glenn the Geek, live from the stable, it's every week. They bring you the news through hail or high water, while using their tails as their own fly swatters. So sit on down and laugh till you poop, cause it's time again for the Stable Scoop. Stable Scoop. The Stable Scoop. Stable Scoop.
I am really excited about this annual Desperate Horsewives episode. I have my favorite person in the whole wide world, Coach Jen, who's with me today. Welcome, Jen.
Oh, no pressure. Thanks. Gosh.
I've been really pounding on the friendship side. The friendship.
I know what's going on right there. We're moving to Florida. I see what's going on right here.
Yes, Jennifer's moving to Florida. I'm horse shopping again, and yeah, so Jennifer's phone has sort of been ringing off the hook lately, and it's always me.
Yeah, we're having a great time.
And Jennifer is, she's a veteran Desperate Horsewives episode guest, so she knows how this whole thing goes. And also joining us today is a new guest on Stable Scoop, Sandy Lovato. Sandy is married to, one of the most recognized jockeys in the world, Frankie Lovato, who is also the inventor and president of Equicizer. He created the Equicizer. What would you call it?
It's a let's see if I can get this right, non-motorized exercise. Well, it's a horse, basically.
It's a horse.
It really does work like a horse. And if you've ever watched the TV show, I think it was on Animal Planet, Jockeys.
Yes.
It was featured there. You've seen it. And it's, anytime you see behind-the-scenes shots of jockeys in the jockeys' locker room, you'll see them sitting in there. Yeah, they're really cool.
Right. This thing is, it's pretty amazing, actually. And so, like I said, Frankie has been, what did she say? He's ridden 1,500 races and who knows how many hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars he's won at the racetrack. So anyway, Sandy she's definitely married to a horseman, but she's also a horsewoman herself.
It's going to be fun to hear about their relationship because two very different horse people. She's the horsewoman that you and I are familiar with because grew up loving horses, yada, yada, yada. Frankie has a very different experience for his passion for horses. So I can't wait to talk to her about it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
This is a good mix today. We have a good mix. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with is this the third annual? It's probably the third or fourth.
It's the third, yeah.
The third annual Desperate Horsewives episode right here on Stable Scoop.
Well, I'm here with Anastasia Burke, who's a writer for many equine publications and an author of several horsey books, and one of the first guests on the Stable Scoop radio show. Hello, Anastasia.
Hi, Glenn. Good to talk to you again.
Well, I'm talking to you for a different reason this time, and that is on behalf of Equity Manufacturing at equitymfg.com. We have been talking about how much Helena and I absolutely love the Flex and Fork, but you use one of their other products that people probably have seen at expos and at fairs and things, but I know you and your husband absolutely love the Shake and Fork.
We love the Shake and Fork, and we found it at the Horse Expo at Cal Expo in Sacramento. And what kind of caught our attention is that there was a lot of people standing around laughing, and so of course we were naturally drawn to that. And we ended up buying one, and everywhere we went that day, people laughed at us. And I have to say that we kind of got the last laugh because that thing has changed our life completely.
Now let's tell everybody what it is. It's actually a motorized a motorized manure fork, and it's made to vibrate. So what happens, instead of you having to shake your arms to get to sift, you basically, the fork does it for you.
The fork does all the work, and I think, if you really want to clean your stall, I'll tell you who it doesn't work for. If you have straw in your barn, it's not going to work for you. If you want to go clean the stall and spend a lot of time as a bonding experience with your horse, it's not going to work for you. We use pellets, and we have found that with the shaken fork, the whole vibrating thing, we end up keeping the pellets that are clean on the ground instead of throwing them into the wheelbarrow with the manure. So it's actually, it's an expensive device, there's no question, but in the long run, we've saved money. We've gone through it. We have the same one that we originally bought. It lasts forever. The battery's rechargeable. It's an awesome product. And, if the other people that it's really good for, I know someone who's got some carpal tunnel syndrome going, and it's really helped her in cleaning the stalls because it does that work for her. So, we love it. We spend a lot more time riding horses than we do cleaning stalls now.
And that's the Shaken Fork. You can find it at Equity Manufacturing, and that's equitymfg.com, equitymfg.com. Thank you so much, Anastasia, for joining us today.
And so I'm here with two wonderful horsewomen, and I'm going to just introduce them, and they're going to explain their background so you guys all have an understanding of who we are. We three horsewomen sitting around our studios chatting. We have Sandy Lovato. She's here with us today, and Jennifer Hebert. Jennifer, you guys may know from Horses in the Morning. She is married to Glenn the Geek. And we also have Sandy Lovato, who is married to Frankie Lovato. So welcome to both of you.
Hi there.
Hey ho, Helena. And
here.
by the way, for all you listeners, Helena is married to Peter.
Oh, that's right. I have a husband too. I always forget me in these conversations. So let's start with Sandy. Sandy, tell us a little bit about you and Frankie and who you are and what kind of horses you have and your lives together.
Well, thank you, Helena. And again, thank you for inviting me to this show. Always love an opportunity to talk about horses. I had my first Shetland pony at 8 years old. Met my husband, former jockey Frank Lovato Jr. at 19 years old. Been with him ever since. I think we'll have our 30th wedding anniversary this November. So I was a jock's wife for, close to 30 years. And kind of got away from horses at that point. I mean, of course, go to the racetrack and take my kids out, and get on the pony horses and stuff. But didn't have a horse of my own during that whole time period. And we lived on Long Island, New York. So having a horse was just really expensive. So when Frankie retired from racing, we moved back to my hometown in Norwalk, Ohio. And since then, I have started a therapeutic horseback riding program called Stampede of Dreams. I'm a PATH, Professional Association of Therapeutic Horsemanship certified riding instructor. And it's been the most rewarding thing I've ever done. And we only personally own, right now, we have a 3-year-old Shetland pony named Popcorn, who is famous. He has his own Facebook page. And then besides that, then with the Horses for Stampede of Dreams, I'm, very involved with them and keeping them, ridden and worked. So Popcorn is the only horse right now that we personally own.
That's a big deal because it's easy to, when you have a little bit of space, it's easy to have more than just one. And I have to say that Popcorn is, as they say up here in New England, wicked cute.
Thank you. He is. And he was actually a rescue. As a matter of fact, when we got him as a yearling, 3 years, it's going to be 3 years ago. He was a yearling 2 years ago. I was actually looking for a pony for Stampede of Dreams. Some of the kids with, especially kids with cognitive issues or, they're a little afraid sometimes of a larger horse. So we were looking for a pony. So Frankie was coming with me, and he would say, I want a pony. I want a pony. Now, you got to understand, Frankie left home at 13 to be a jockey, started riding at 16, never owned his own horse. So I have kind of been looking, and I had actually seen Popcorn at this rescue that's here in southern Ohio called Lewis Farm and Rescue, and I'd seen him, but I knew he wasn't right for Stampede of Dreams. So it was coming up on Father's Day, and I said, well, Frankie, I said, I found this little yearling pony that's real cute, and he's a rescue, which appealed to me. So we, made the phone call to Mandy Lewis and put the application in. And and I've never done this. Never adopted a horse sight unseen. Never bought a horse sight unseen. So we had him trucked up here, and he got off the trailer, and we just immediately fell in love with him. He's just a great little guy from the time he was a yearling.
He's a rock star, and he knows it, isn't he, Sandy?
You know what? He is. He is a rock star, and he knows it. He actually, typical, knows how to pose already and all that good stuff. But, Frankie has the opportunity he can to. He's out there taking pictures of him. But he's just been a great guy. I've actually, we've had my granddaughter on him a few times and everything in the line classes at our local 4-H show. But he's 3 years old now, and I've told Frankie this is the year now. I'm getting serious. So we've already clashed and bumped heads, especially this past 2 weeks because we've had such nice weather here. I've actually been really starting to work with him, and his dad, Frankie, is not happy with my techniques.
Okay, we're gonna that's room for a commercial break right there because I want to leave everybody hanging. We're gonna dive into that. Before we do, though, let's quickly, Jennifer, not quickly, you can take your time, actually. This is my show. I can put the commercials in wherever I want, can't I? Well, I want to come back to that because that's a pretty big conversation we're going to have with Sandy. But Jennifer, for those listeners who aren't familiar with you, tell them a little bit about yourself and this famous guy you're married to.
Yeah, the famous guy I'm married to. I am married to Glenn the Geek. Serial entrepreneur, and he was serial entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And Lord High Muckety Muck, chief bottle washer at Horse Radio Network. It's his little baby. And I have been dragged kicking and screaming into the broadcasting world. I am
Wait, hold on a minute. Wasn't he dragged kicking and screaming into the horse world?
We were young. We were in love. He wasn't kicking and screaming a whole lot, let me tell you.
No, he wasn't kicking and screaming. Not in the bad way.
At that point, he would do anything you wanted, right, Jen?
You bet.
How long ago was that now?
20 some odd years. I couldn't tell you the exact number, but 20 some odd years.
That's good enough.
So he drags me kicking and screaming, and we drag one another because probably if I was honest about it, I'm probably a serial entrepreneur as well. But by trade, I have been in the horse business pretty much my whole life. Went right from high school to the horse biz and used the United States Pony Club system as my jumping point. I was a graduate A, so I went through that ringer, as they say, and taught, rode, did a lot of eventing and fox hunting and dressage and some hunters and jumpers and things like that. So I kind of had what you would call a typical track through life and discovered, thanks to Glenn's help, that I love to learn new stuff. The process of discovery, there's nothing better for me. That's my cocaine. And he kind of brought that out in me when we got together in our 20s. So I have spent the past 20 some odd years doing my best to just discover all things horsey. And it's kind of fun now. I'm warming up to the whole broadcasting thing a little bit, and I'm having a lot of fun helping other people discover their inner discovery addict. Yeah.
Well, you're very good at it because you had actually helped me discover my inner discovery addict.
Your inner explorer?
I mean, I'm just a wee bit junior to you. So you really have the benefit of, what you want to be when you grow up. I don't yet. I'm still in that discovery phase. But Jen and I met quite a few years ago. We were working together. I was working for Jennifer in a high energy, high activity fox hunting barn, and we shared a lot of Dunkin' Donuts together. Let's just put it that way. We had the best part of my week. It's probably the best job I ever had. I remember Wednesday mornings. It was real early in there, sitting in the feed room. All the horses are munching their hay. They had their grain, not quite ready for turnout yet. And Jen and I would sit down over a cup of coffee and usually something sweet, and just talk about some kind of equine mystery of the day. Or
you used to come in and you'd like present yourself. tell me about such and such, Jen. I'm going, what? I think in a former life you participated in the Inquisition.
Really, I know. I was just, because I found this person in Jennifer who was literally a walking encyclopedia. That Pony Club did you right, because you just had a really well thought out answer to every question. Now, granted, I was still, on my learning curve in the horse world. I had some experience, but all of us know this. Sandy, you know this too. No matter how long you've been in the horse world, there's always so much. The more you know, the more you realize what you don't know. And so here I had Jennifer at my disposal, and her 100% undivided attention, and she was happy to share what she knew. So every day I would come in and say, "Okay, Jen, this is what we got today." And
and that's invaluable. To have that person is just invaluable.
It really
that's
is
awesome.
It really is. Today, most of us don't have the time to sit down and have that kind of conversation. So even then, looking back a few years, I'm very thankful that we had that. And, and through Jennifer, I had met Glenn. And now I am married. I'm married.
Yay, Peter.
Yay, Peter. My husband is not at all horsey. He's just not, he's not afflicted by the bug. And he likes them very much. He likes to touch them. He likes to cuddle them. He likes to give them sips of his whiskey, and very much appreciates what they do for me, which I think is really, I don't want to say it's rare, but probably the greatest thing about my relationship with my husband is that he can see and be happy about the person I've become since making horses my life.
Well, I think that's awesome, and I am very jealous. He doesn't have that.
So that's me. Right now I have, we picked up our lives. We moved from a nice little horsey town just north of Boston out to the coast, Rhode Island coast, so that we could keep our horses at home. We have a little farm that we call Hither and Yon, and right now I have 2 horses of my own, and I absolutely adore having them at home. I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I want to do a little bit of eventing. I've been fox hunting quite a bit. Or I don't know, maybe want to do little jumpers, anything. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll do whatever it takes. Just put me in the tack. And so that's my life. And we're going to talk a little bit more about how the 3 of us get along with our husbands. But we're going to take a quick commercial break to hear from one of our sponsors.
I'm Glenn the Geek from the Horse Radio Network, and I'm on here with Debbie from Equestrian Collections with our Equestrian Collections Product of the Week. Well, Debbie, we're talking a little bit about cribbing this time, aren't we?
Yes, we are. Cribbing and windsucking going hand in hand. The horses are getting out now, and people are worried about them cribbing everywhere. The Miracle Collar that I'm featuring this week is the best thing that we have found for this situation. You need to have it snug. The secret of this collar is it needs to be very snug. And we have fleece covers to go with that to help with any rubbing that might go on. If it's adjusted properly, when the horse is grazing, it will automatically loosen. It will be tightened when his head is in the position to crib or windsuck. It encourages them not to do that, and it really works.
It does
Glenn,
work.
I understand you are familiar with this product.
Oh, yeah. We've had a bunch of cribbers over the years, and we were never afraid of having cribbing horses because we always knew. First, we'd use those little skinny collars. And, they work sort of maybe. And then as soon as the Weaver Miracle Collar came along, we started using that, and we've used it on every cribber since then. You're absolutely right. The big problem that people have with these types of collars for cribbers is they don't put them tight enough because they're afraid to hurt the horses. Well, these are designed not to hurt the horses. And they do have to be snug, and that's the reason they work. But they can eat. They can eat their hay off the floor. They can eat their grain, all that stuff. Is just fine. They don't lose weight. Matter of fact, they'll gain weight because they're not cribbing all the time.
Exactly. And the other thing to remember is some boarding facilities will not take a cribber. But if you can have this collar, you may have a very good chance that you can move your horse to a boarding facility that is concerned about that behavior pattern.
And it's in the $60 price range, $60 to $70, and at Equestrian Collections, it's well worth the money. Get the fleeces to go on it. we always used it with the fleecies. And the nice thing about the fleecies that go on is you can change those out. And, if they get disgusting, you can just replace them. The Miracle Collar, just go to EquestrianCollections.com and search Miracle Collar, and it will come up.
And we are back with Sandy Lovato, Jennifer Hebert, and myself, Helena B. And this is the annual Desperate Horsewives episode of Stable Scoop. Although I have to say, desperate is sort of a misnomer because I would certainly not say that Sandy's desperate, nor Jennifer.
Well, it depends on how you define desperate.
Desperate for what? What are we desperate for?
Well, see, there you go.
I would say I'm desperate because I have a problem. I'm desperate for more horse time. That would be I am desperate, and I have to, really work that into my life. And Frankie doesn't necessarily, not that he doesn't support it, because he does. He especially supports what I do with the kids. But you know what? I'm desperate. I'm desperate, girls.
But so you are a certified riding instructor. You have a therapeutic riding program.
Right.
That's your job.
No.
Oh,
it's really volunteer right now. My job is I work for the company Equisense and the Equisizer. That's my job. That's my full-time job, 9 to 5, kind of job. That's my job. Stampede of Dreams is, it's just a 4-year-old program, so we're new. We're all volunteer right now. I'm hoping at some point that is my full-time job, but right now, for those listeners that don't know, Frankie, my husband, is the inventor, and we manufacture a product called the Equisizer, which is a non-motorized exercise machine training device.
Totally awesome. Check it out.
Yeah.
Facebook, website,
Thanks.
Google Equisizer.
So that's my full-time job, and I enjoy that, and I love that. Like you said, I've got to meet so many people through that, and it was great for Frankie to have a next career. But Equisizers don't smell like real horses.
Yeah. Yeah. I do.
I love it. I don't smell like real horses. That's fun.
So what would you do if you, in your in your reach for more horse time, what would that look like to you?
At the bar, first thing in the morning until time to come home at night. When we first started Stampede of Dreams, I actually did have a horse. I had a 8-year-old quarter horse that I was actually considering purchasing. I was leasing him, and I was purchasing him. And I had actually broke my pelvis. I was getting ready for my certification test, and I was actually in the middle of the lesson, and he went one way and I went the other, and landed wrong and broke my pelvis. And that was the first year we were starting Stampede of Dreams. So I ended up going ahead and sending him back to his owners, and because I did have the Stampede of Dreams horses that were going to need my time, and I was going to get my horse fixed through them and everything. And so I would have to negotiate with Frankie for time to go to the barn. I would have to, X has to be done, or I would have to do X, to get my horse time at the barn. And then I'd walk out the door and he'd say, "How long are you going to be gone?" And I'd say, "An hour or two." He'd say, "Be honest, Sandy, you mean 4 or 5, And
it's taken Glenn 20 some odd years to not ask how long I'll be gone. He doesn't ask. He knows better.
Yeah, see, Frankie, last night I took my granddaughter over to where the Stampede of Dreams horse are. We don't have an indoor arena, so we're only a good weather program. So we're gearing up the horses to start the program in May. So I was heading over there last night with my granddaughter to do some grooming, and we're shedding horses out and stuff. And there's 2 horses at the location I was heading to, and so he says, so he goes, "So I'm probably not going to see you for a while." I'm like.
Right.
I said, I don't know how long. I don't know how, I hadn't been over there in a few days. I had no idea. I said, I don't know. I don't know how bad they are. It was really warm. I said, maybe I'll get out. I don't know, honey. I don't know. And he loves what I do, and I don't want to misrepresent that he just doesn't get that when you're with a horse, you lose track of time.
See, from his point of view, and this is what's fun about the conversation is Frankie's experience with horses until he retired from being a professional jockey was a business
work
part of his life, and it's very structured. You're at the track at such and such time, you do these exact things with these horses, and you're done with this trainer at this time of the day.
Yeah.
So right. I'm sure for him it's a little harder to get his head around the type of relationship you have with your horse habit,
right?
Where it's not based on time. It's based on task. You know,
Right.
what you
Yeah.
feel like needs to be done. So I'm sure for him, and he's also a little bit of he's a very structured guy too, I think.
Yes, yes, he
Yeah.
is. Absolutely.
He,
and you've
you know,
nailed it
neat,
on the head.
square, level, plumb. That's the way Frankie works.
Right.
So I'm sure for him, and I'm sure each horse husband has a different reason they have a hard time getting their head around this horse habit. And I'm sure for him that's part of it, because his relationship with the species and even with the people, because when you work at the racetrack, that's very much a business. You don't hang around the barn because you feel like you know, oh,
You're
can I just
right.
hand walk him a little
Right.
longer?
Exactly. You're
It
right.
doesn't work
You are
that way.
so
Well, your
right.
motivations are different. Your motivations
Also,
are different.
another thing too, though, Jen, is I do think that if I had the facility right here on our property, you know, or if I was just walking out the backyard to my barn and doing this stuff, it would be different. Like, because if I'm out with popcorn, you know, he has no problem with me spending hours with popcorn, but I'm right here.
Right, yeah.
I think that he'd be a little bit more tolerant if it, you know, if I didn't have to leave our property to go take care of these horses or work with these horses. I think that, yeah, because he could. I mean, of course, popcorn's his baby, so you know he's really tolerant. But yeah, because that was the other thing he said when I went to leave. He says, "Well, what about popcorn?" I said, "Well, if I get back in time, I am going to go out and mess with popcorn for a little bit." You know, that's so.
You know-
I do think if it was here, that would make a difference. But yeah, you're right though. You know, it was. Even though he had his favorite horses, and there's horses that, you know, to this day, as a matter of fact, there's a horse that's currently in Florida named Intrinsic Worth that Frankie rode at Chicago and won races on him, and the owner thinks he'd be great for our therapeutic riding program. So we're
Oh my
in the process of
gosh.
bringing him up this spring from Florida, and to work with him and see if we can use him. We got wind pictures of Frankie on him and stuff, and that
That's
was
so
a horse
cool.
Frankie had a really great relationship with. So he has had wonderful relationships with horses. You know, so I'm
Well, but you know, there's a little bit of, I think in all men, yes, I'm going to stereotype here, but they are a little bit selfish when their wives or their better halves pay attention to something else the way we had once paid attention to them. They are a little juvenile in that way. I'm sorry. It's true. And I think, now I can say this because, again, it's my show, but because I think that biologically, women are designed to be, we're mares, we're alpha mares.
Yeah.
We look out for everybody. We are responsible. We are nurturing. We put our arms out, whether it's horses or cats or dogs or whatever it is, it has to be fed. We don't miss a trick. When that water bowl is half empty, we know it. You know, when 2 hours have gone by, we know our horses are out of hay and they're going to need more. And so there's this, we have that softness of the eyes in our lives. And I think men don't have that. I think they're definitely more focused. They're more task focused. And so they tend to listen to me like, okay, Dr. Phil needs to come and check in on this. But I think that men are a little bit more focused and they get attached to singular
minute.
things. What?
Did you just say the word focused?
Yes, I do. I do. I think, well,
Speak for yourself, honey.
No. When Glenn is focused on something, there are very specific things in Glenn's life that he focuses on. Is this not true?
Cheez-Its,
Food, fine.
potato chips.
Yep. Does he ever miss a meal?
You know he does. He frequently misses meals.
You're kidding. This is new.
Absolutely. He will frequently forget to eat breakfast and or lunch when he is elbow deep, and
When he's
that happens
focused
a
on
lot.
something else, you mean?
'Cause, he's doing something else. And
All right,
he's
well, let me get back to my analysis, my armchair analysis here. Okay, so anyway,
Okay.
so I think that so that men get attached to us, and when we leave, you know, when they're focused on us and we leave them alone, that they have a little hard time with it. I think they get a little resentful.
You know what I think it is?
What?
I think Frankie needs to know when Sandy's coming back home so he knows when to stop feeding popcorn.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it.
I
He
was
doesn't want to
trying
get caught.
diplomatic.
I hate to burst your bubble in a little bit there, Helena.
Fine.
But see, now that's not Frankie's issue with the horses. I mean, especially when it comes to popcorn, because one of the things that we constantly fight about, I mean, Frankie's used to being around thoroughbreds, right, and these race horses, and that's how he wants to feed this pony. He feeds this little 40-inch Shetland pony hay 3 times a day. I mean, this pony, I told him, I said, when the vet comes for spring shots, you're in trouble again. We've got this little roly-poly little pony. And so that's where Frankie he is more fixated with making sure this pony is so well cared for. And I keep saying to him, and I love all my animals and my dogs too, we had to go someplace the other day. I don't remember where it was we had to go, but it was like 4 o'clock. Oh, I know where we had to go. We had to go see my daughter is buying a new home, her and her fiance. So we had to leave at 4 o'clock. Well, the animals get fed between 5 and 6. Now, I don't believe in having, especially horses, on a schedule like that. I think you need a 2-hour window kind of a thing. And we go round and round about that. And he says, so you're going to let your dogs be hungry? My dogs will eat when I get home. They're animals. They'll eat when they get home. And he cannot stand the thought of popcorn being hungry.
Well, let me ask you this. Does Frankie like to be fed on time?
Yes, he does.
Yeah, there you go.
But that comes back from, being a jockey and reducing all those years where he would go all day with no nourishment. So,
and knows how it feels.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
but
he's projecting
he just, he just is so worried about these animals eating. And I'm like, no, they'll be fine. And he just, if you look out, and the thing is, the pony knows this. That's what really aggravates me. This pony knows how to look at him with those big brown pony eyes, and Frankie will feed him.
Now, Jennifer, does Glenn have do you think, how does he feel about the time that you spend with horses?
As the years have gone by, he's gotten better. Early on, it was easier for him because we had our own farm, and it's just what we did all day, every day. We were out fixing fences and doing this and doing that, and the day-to-day operations of a large agricultural facility. So it wasn't so bad because we were together all the time. But then the middle years where he frequently was working either in a home office or an office somewhere else while I was doing the horse thing, that was a little tougher for him. And he still struggles with that to this day. But that's just Glenn. He's an exceedingly gregarious person. He lives to be around people. He's Bob Barker. And I am quite the opposite. I am perfectly content to be alone with no one to talk to for days or weeks. Doesn't bother me a bit. So that's always been a struggle from the get-go, and I think that would be in our lives whether I had horses or dogs or goldfish, and I have all 3 now that I think about it. So I think that's just the nature of who we are. He's really, really gregarious, and I'm really, really a loner. But he's kind of come to grips with it a little bit more now that he's got a little gray on top. Yeah. He listens to Dr. Jen. When Dr. Jen comes on the show and gives us advice, she helps me out a lot.
That's the best thing about starting the Horse Radio Network is that you guys get free advice. Free couples advice. That's who we should.
Yeah, but we also get people trying to give us horses and people.
One of the things, Jen, I wanted to ask you is, have you noticed a difference in your relationship and yours and Glenn's and the horses since you guys started Horse Radio Network? I mean, it seems to me he does seem to have such a love and passion for it that this would be a really good connection for you guys.
Well, it's interesting because Glenn, he's horse husband. And it's funny because people who know him a little bit but don't know him really well will frequently say, well, no, you're a horse guy. You love horses. You have the Horse Radio Network. You have a horse. You drive. You this, that. And Glenn's fascination and passion, unlike us, is not for the horse itself. It's for the people who love horses. Because he's a people person, and he finds people who love horses fascinating. One of his favorite things to say is, every horse person has a story, whether you're the famous horse person or the person next door that has a pony, because he loves to learn about people and their stories and what they love to do and how they came to be where they are. So the Horse Radio Network is kind of his, what do I want to do when I grow up? He finally found it because he really enjoys learning about the people who love horses, because he thinks horses are kind of cool. but he has discovered that there is an endless variety of types of people and stories that got you where you are, and that's what really drives him. And it is kind of fun because he is more invested in what I do with horses and what our close friends do with horses, because it's much more part of his career now than it used to be.
Right, right.
It is a nice marriage, forgive the pun, but of your passions and his passions.
It really is. It's like perfect. It's a perfect blend for you guys.
He's a happy camper right now. Like I said, he's Bob Barker. He's one of those people that was very unlucky all through his high school and his college age. All those years he was one of those people that would say, this isn't what I want to do. This is not what I'm passionate about in his career. He never knew what he wanted to do until he started doing this.
Jen, what about his hands-on involvement, with the horses? I mean, I know we kid around about him being like Frankie as far as feeding treats and stuff and all that. Does he do any hands-on involvement with you and the horses, or is it just basically, here's treats in my pocket, have a treat?
He is an extremely capable horse person. And you would not know it to speak with him because he's very condescending in that respect. He is extremely capable. He can deal with horses that are colicking and trying to flip themselves over. He can uncast horses stuck in stalls. He can load difficult loaders who bash their heads on the ceilings. He can deal with all that stuff. He doesn't enjoy it. He likes having a horse around that's like Popcorn and Beaker. That's his kind of horse. He enjoys grooming them and taking them for drives with his friends and, taking care of them on a daily basis. But unlike people who have the horse lovers virus, he does not seek out the challenge of learning about difficult animals or things like that. Although he did discover, and it was really kind of funny, back, I guess it was last year for his birthday, I finally trumped him because he's a very difficult person to surprise, and I'm not very good at surprises. I bought him a driving lesson for his birthday. And he had never had a proper driving lesson. In all the years that he's driven, we've kind of just throw the harness on and off we go. And for the next 3 months, he talked about that driving lesson. He had so much fun, and he didn't realize he would enjoy learning the intricacies of how to drive a horse properly. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of cool that he discovered that part of himself that he wasn't aware of, because he's not a competitive person.
He's not a what person?
He's not competitive at all. He doesn't compete in anything.
Well, but he does have this natural curiosity, and I'm starting to think that maybe he just hasn't been presented with the right type of horse opportunity to fit that natural curiosity. Because that's frustrating, is to have a husband or someone close to you who's talented and extremely capable with horses, because we know how rare they are, but who just doesn't have that urge, that constant urge to engage with the horses. So maybe, Jen, he just hasn't found the right combination yet.
Yeah.
No,
How
okay.
about your husband, Helena? Does he do any hands-on, or he just watches you from afar?
He does do hands-on. He's a farm guy, so he likes to build fences. He likes to clear paddocks and turn the manure pile. He really likes to be a part of the lifestyle that comes along with large animals. When he was a young man, he worked at a retirement farm. Across the street was wasn't old, but it was a retirement farm for thoroughbreds and other horses. And he worked there and used to ride. They had a donkey named Lucifer who lived up to his name.
Perfect.
Peter said that he would just sort of climb on these horses bareback and they'd plop around the fields, whatever. But of course you would do that to Lucifer and take your chances. And so, so interestingly enough, he thinks that he can sort of take that same approach to my Arab cross and stand on the fence and climb over him bareback with a cigar in one hand and a glass of whiskey in the other. I tell this story often. So he's all about, he does appreciate, and he loves animals. He does appreciate the animals, but like Glenn, he doesn't have that urge, that incessant urge.
I think part of the difficulty for Glenn too is being the captain of ADD. When you're working with horses, if you want to keep all of your appendages and stay out of the hospital, you need to be focused and you need to be in the moment, because you never know what's going to happen. Even with quiet horses like Popcorn and Beaker and Zeke. And I think that's part of what he struggles with because his little brain goes at about 90 miles an hour faster than the rest of the world, and he can't turn it off when he's working with a horse. He can't just pick up a foot and look at it and clean it out and just look at the foot and go, I'm cleaning the foot. No, he's got stuff going back there. And I think that's part of his frustration. He was like that when he was in school, apparently, too. I remember his mom telling stories about that. So Peter is very good at being in the moment.
Yes.
He can zen. Can Frankie zen?
Yes, I would definitely say.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
Really?
But he will tend though to go to his. But if something does go wrong, I don't want to say go wrong, but if there is something that needs to be correcting, he is still struggling with his racetrack ways. As far as correcting a bad behavior and stuff. And we're working on that. He's definitely improving. He's learning, especially because he does come and help us work with the Stampede of Dreams horses, and he does help with lessons. So our equine manager is, works with all of us, and we have to handle those horses a special way. So he's learning, and he's doing great. He's doing great. As a matter of fact, he's got popcorn bowing. He's got, he's got things that he's had to relearn. But in the heat of the moment, though, I do struggle with him, reverting to, this is a pony. He's not Secretariat, and you don't have to, punish him that bad. You don't have to make him back the whole way down the driveway. So, but he can. I mean, he really does enjoy the Zen part of it. That's what he's really, really enjoying is just, being with the pony and just being part of it.
And I'm sure
and even the Stampede of Dreams horses too.
I'm sure that when he was riding professionally, that was key to being a good jockey. You have to be able to be in the moment. Let me tell you.
Right.
Yeah, that's it's a long moment, but you have to be in it. But is he Sandy? Is he open to? Does he realize, or is he aware that this is that even like coming and working at Stampede of Dreams and his relationship with popcorn? Does he realize that this is a learning experience for him? That he's growing still as a person?
Absolutely, and especially from a jockey standpoint, like you said, like his working with the horses and his Zen, most of it was on their backs, which is a whole different ballgame. Back to and from the racetrack, most of the times you have the pony horse with you. So, as a jockey or rider, you're really not doing anything till that horse is turned loose and you're either galloping him or breezing him or riding him in a race. So this groundwork that us horsemen do so much of now, that is, such a key to our horsemanship, that's the new stuff for him. That's the stuff that he really hadn't had a lot of experience with. Because, very rarely do jockeys, do any of that kind of work. He may help out at the barn a little bit for one of his favorite trainers if he had a minute or something, but it wasn't to the extent it is when you're doing hands-on work, solid hands-on work with a horse. So that's the whole learning experience. And, he's definitely open to it. And, we've been fortunate, too, especially since he's retired because of all the events we've done, going to WAG and go to Equine Affair and, met some of these top clinicians and become friendly with him and, gone and watched their clinics or been invited to come to clinics with them has been great for both of us, but especially for him to really see the horse world outside of horse racing.
Discovery.
I know. Well, I think you don't realize that your self-discovery and your personal growth continues until you're over 30. You realize, like, I'm kind of excited for the next 40 years of my life because who knows what kinds of things I'm going to, get to learn and experience, what kind of adventures we're going to go on. And, Jen knows this, that I sort of fancy myself a missionary of horsemanship. I love to get on my horse and go hacking down the street and have people.
You're the ambassador.
I hope to be, because I love when the kids roll down the window and they ask me about my horse and I say, go get some riding lessons, or, and so I'm trying to do that with my family, with my husband, because, and I don't know if it's possible. I don't know if everybody is born with the gene that allows you to really appreciate, and it's something to say appreciate, but that allows you to grow from them. And I think that they've done so much for my life. I just want to see them do as much for his life. But I have to find that special combination to unlock that place in him,
You put a lot of pressure on yourself, honey.
I do. I know.
was thinking the same thing, and I want to say, and that may not happen, and you have to be okay with that too. I mean, that's the one thing that I do think that's hard, and like I struggle, for example, with my Stampede of Dreams kids. Like, we had one young girl come last year, and when they signed up, they thought she was going to love it and everything. Has always loved horses. Well, she ended up really not liking riding. She rode scared and everything, and it breaks my heart, and I have such a hard time understanding that, because I just think everybody should love to ride it. Everybody should love to have the horse blow snot on them. So I struggle with that, and I struggle, and I have to realize that, it's not going to be for all my kids, or it's, I have a sister who like I said, I had my first pony at 8 years old, and I have a sister who cannot stand horses, and she does not get it at all. She gets it, what I do now with Stampede of Dreams. She gets, the benefit for the kids and what we're doing. But so,
maybe Sandy and Helena, maybe it's like this. Some people love escargot. And for those of us who do not, will never understand why those who do.
Yeah.
It's probably something like that when it comes to the horse gene. Some people don't even have an inkling of it. It's not even latent. And as horse wives or horse husbands in some cases, you have to be okay with that.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I mean, I see it in my daughter which may be a little bit different because she's got a lot of my genetic material. So I'm seeing her be awakened to the joys of horses. She has the wee factor. She likes that little wee, little zoom zoom. I have the zoom zoom. So I see her, and she appreciates animals. Oh my God, she so appreciates critters. And
she's Marguerite Henry all over again.
Oh my God.
Oh wow.
Oh my God. I mean, when I say I'm lucky, so it's like, oh, okay. She will experience the joys of horses. So yeah, you're right. You do have to back off a little bit and say, no, this is not for everybody. It's just hard for me. It's hard for me to think that way. But you know what?
I totally agree.
We have to take a short break to hear from one of our sponsors. So we're going to do that for just a minute, and then we're going to come right back and finish talking about how desperate or not desperate we are as horsewives. We'll be right back.
Not every horse needs a supplement, and selecting the right supplement for your horse can be a science. Kentucky Performance Products simplifies your search for the right supplement, and they provide products that are scientifically developed to address the specific problems facing modern horses. Their website and customer service people can give you detailed information on each supplement, helping you find the right solution to your horse's problem. You can trust Kentucky Performance Products supplements to provide the ingredients you need in effective amounts so your horse gets the most out of each scoopful. Kentucky Performance Products, helping you keep your horses healthy, sound, and competitive. Visit them at kppusa.com. That's kppusa.com.
Okay. Go ahead. Now, Sandy, you were going to come right back in. I said, blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah.
What did Sandy say at the beginning that we had to get back to?
Talking about my working with popcorn and that Frankie's not happy with my techniques. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, because at the beginning, remember you said, we have to revisit that.
It was about, I thought maybe we did, but wasn't it about who feeds him and how much?
Well, the overfeeding thing, yeah.
Who takes care of, who's in charge? Let's put it that, let's go back to who's in charge of popcorn.
Well, see, that kind of goes along with the rest of our life. I let Frankie think he's in charge of things. And he's really mostly in charge of popcorn as far as he feeds him. He's in charge of feeding him, and like I said, he's taught him to bow and stuff. But I'm the one, like you were talking about your daughter. It's my granddaughter she's 6 years old now, and she's the love of our life, and she's got my horsey gene. She's been riding with me, been working with her since she was about 2 or 3 years old, and my breaking him, like I'm gonna break him for her to ride and to pull a cart and stuff like that. So, but I'm in charge of that because Frankie really has no experience with anything like that. So, I've been, putting a bridle, putting a bit in his mouth, and I like to tie him up for a little while, leave the bit, just let him, chomp on it and get used to it and everything. So I think I left it on him the other day for about an hour and a half. and Frankie was sweating bullets. He was dying that I was torturing his pony. And I kept having to say, honey, do you want the best possible pony for your granddaughter? Do you want Popcorn to be the best possible he can be? Then you have to trust me. And, and then he wants to know, well, where did you learn to do this? And how come you're doing this? And I have to explain it to him. So that's where we're differing. It's just that sometimes he just can't. He doesn't grasp that, because when you break a racehorse, I mean, you throw bridle on him and tack on their back. I mean, they've come a long way since Frankie and I were kids breaking horses, but it's nothing like what we do now. You just kind of ease everything into everything, and we try to do it slow and gentle. And
well, it's a little bit different skill set you're aiming for.
Yeah, a lot different skill set. That's it's like. And the other thing is, he wants to hang on Popcorn's head. He wants to hang on him and love on him. And now Popcorn doesn't like it. Frankie even said to him the other day, he goes, I just don't understand why he just doesn't like me to he doesn't let me hang on him. And this is what he wants, a big teddy bear. And Popcorn's still a horse. He's still a pony. And I try to tell him, honey, it's just like the Stampede of Dreams horses. He doesn't want that. A horse doesn't want that. We need to teach him respect, and we need to stay away from his head. And and that's not the horse Frankie wants. Frankie wants that big, cuddly teddy bear horse. So I don't know. So that's where we differ. He just really, but he's in charge. He's in charge, and I just
let him think that.
Yeah.
So Helena, do you and Peter ever butt heads over things that happen with the horses?
Yeah, surprisingly we do. And, surprisingly we do. But he comes at it as I don't understand why it has to be this way. My husband is a scientist. He's a mathematician by trade. And so he thinks in very, very logical terms, very linear. So when I tell him that horses have to be treated in certain ways, and it doesn't make sense to him immediately, he'll push back. He'll say, well, why do you have to separate their hay piles when they're out there? They're both going to eat. And even if one is dominant over the other, this is going to happen and that's going to happen. And so I have to, and then there's those things, but really those things you can explain to him. And after a small debate, he understands it. Okay. It's really just inexperience in horse handling. But there are those things that you guys know that you just, it's by feel, it's by intuition. They're right. The way you just handle horses, the way you react, things you do. I can only say, I know this is right because my gut tells me so. My intuition tells me so. And I can't explain that to him. Mm-hmm. And he will argue until he's blue in the face. And I finally just have to say, because I just feel it, okay? Because I just feel it. And then I huff and I puff and my little fists go, I make little fists and then I walk away and go, oh, you just don't understand.
Is Peter the I want to learn it for myself kind of guy? Wants to, I can figure it out. Don't tell me how I have to do it. If you didn't tell him how to do it properly and ended up getting his foot stepped on because of it,
no,
he wouldn't go back to you and go, you should have told me that.
Nope, not at all. He's really easygoing that way. He's happy to make mistakes and learn from them. Like he'll get on a horse and God bless him because he really is getting better at this as we get older. I put him on Martin a few weeks ago, and the thing about Martin is he's so green that he doesn't steer. And so, but he's very, very sensitive to your seat and legs. So if you do anything, he's going to respond. He's going to respond in 10 different ways because he's green. He doesn't know exactly what you want, but he wants to give you something. Mm-hmm. And so Peter got on, and of course they were wiggling all over our field, and Martin was backing up and doing a turn on the forehand, and then he was hanging his head over the gate. And so I finally saw Peter get frustrated, and he's really not the type to get frustrated, but I saw that, look come over his face. And I finally said, you know what? I'm just going to shut up. You shut up. Just sit there and think where you want to go. Let's just turn our brains off and just sit there. And sure enough, Martin started to meander in a beautiful straight line, taking a nice walk. He picked up his walk. And what Peter came back to me and said was, he said, this horse is a lot like a program. He's a programmer. Okay? It's a lot like a program. You get out exactly what you put in. He So he said, I could write 10,000 lines of code. And when I go to run the program and it gives me a big blue screen, it's because I programmed in something that said to give me a big blue screen.
Pretty much.
Right?
Wow.
Now, why is it that so many horse people can't get that?
Right?
That is awesome.
Right? I know. I was like, oh my God, I'll marry you all over again. And I said to him, honey, that is the nicest thing to hear, because there are people who are, have been horsey all their lives who never get that.
Never knew that. Yep.
Never understand it. And he's extremely patient, but it was such an epiphany. And from that point on, he had that horse going around better than I do.
Wow.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So
you know what, Helena, there's hope for you. There is truly hope for you.
Now I just have to find him a horse again. And, I think that my dream is that we could go out on these family hacks, a horse for my husband, a pony for my daughter, and then something in between for me. Because I think even just that, like, he's got just the mindset and personality who can enjoy sitting on a horse. Doesn't have to be like me or Jen or Sandy, but can enjoy just sitting in the tack and being transported away into that nice place.
See, Glenn would have to have a picnic basket and a destination, or he wouldn't have any fun.
And what would Frankie have to have?
Oh, gosh. I honestly don't know.
We're going to have to get him on a trail ride and find out, Sandy.
I have been trying to get this man on a trail ride, girls. I cannot tell you. He has no desire to really ride anymore. And I try to be very understanding of that. I mean, we're talking about a man who won 1,500 races, probably rode 30,000 horses. The desire to ride just really isn't there for him. Now, he has come over and he has ridden with me at the barn and stuff, working horses and stuff. But, to me, man, I went on a weekend trail ride with friends last year, and man, I'd call and tell him, okay, we're going out again, and he couldn't concept that. And I try to tell him, honey, if you just come out on a good trail with us and you just let your mind go and you just ride, and he just doesn't see it yet. And so I don't know. It's not the riding that appeals to him anymore.
Part of that might be, Sandy, too, is how it is when your spouse, your parent, your child tells you something. What you actually take in isn't necessarily what they try to communicate. It might be one of those things that he's not going to rediscover his interest in riding until it comes from a different source.
Oh.
Yeah. That's true.
See, Glenn,
and that's one of the reasons I'm also looking forward to this horse coming up, this horse that he's to ride, Intrinsic Worth, because I honestly have hopes that could be the spark.
We won't let Frankie listen to this episode then.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell him.
Top secret. Okay, listeners out there, do not tell Frankie.
Do not share this.
But he has actually said that himself, though, girls. I mean, he's excited about the prospect of this horse, and and connecting with a horse he used to ride. So he's actually said that himself. That maybe this is the spark that he needs to want to go riding with me, and we'll see. Because every horse, before we can introduce them to Stampede of Dreams, you have to work with them for months and make sure their mindset is right and everything. So we're going to have to work with this horse for a while, but so that's I'm actually from my lips to God's ears that this is the horse that sparks Frankie and makes him want to ride more.
Interesting.
We're going to have to check in with you on that.
Yeah.
I have to say it has been a full hour for us.
Wow.
And I know.
I could talk to you girls forever.
Maybe
that's the way it works with Worth Girls.
We see this every year. We should probably do this once a month and have a little powwow session. I have to say a great big thank you to Sandy Lovato for joining us today. I have not had the chance to spend this much time with you. I couldn't have been happier that you were able to fit this in. So thank you so much
for inviting me. I totally enjoyed it.
And to Jennifer H., our Coach Jen, I really should address you by your official name is Coach Jen, married to Glenn the Geek, founder and chief cook and bottle washer of the Horse Radio Network, who always has something insightful to say. Thank you to Jennifer for joining us today.
Well, thanks for having me. This was a blast.
You were listening to the Stable Scoop Radio Show. This is our annual Desperate Horsewives episode. You're also, we're broadcast on the Horse Radio Network. So if you like this show, we want to hear from you. Find us on Facebook. Look for us at Stable Scoop. Give us your feedback about today's show, and we'll keep the conversation going because I think we could probably put another 3 or 4 hours in on this topic.
At least.
And many thanks to our sponsors for today. And we will have another full Stable Scoop episode coming up next Friday. Be sure to listen in. Thanks again.